The Galapagos Islands are a group of volcanic islands in the Pacific Ocean. The islands themselves and the waters surrounding them form an Ecuadorian province, a national park and a biological marine reserve. Geologically speaking, the islands are fairly young, as they were formed between 3 to 5 million years ago, and are well known for the large number of endemic species which were studied by Charles Darwin on the voyage of the Beagle. The 13 major islands are called Baltra, Espanola, Fernandina, Floriana, Genovesa, Isabella, Marchena, Pinta, Pinzone, San Cristobal, Santa Cruz, Santiago, and Santa Fe. 97% of the islands are protected by the Galapagos National Park, meaning that only 3% is actually inhabited by people. The Galapagos Islands were once home to hundreds of giant tortoises, each with different evolved adaptations that helped them survive on the individual island on which they lived. On islands such as Pinta and Espanola, for example, the tortoises with flared up shells and longer necks were able to reach the high-growing plants to survive. Tortoises were plentiful on the Galapagos Islands until the late 19th century, but were later hunted for their meat by sailors and fishermen to the point of extinction. Goats were also introduced to the Galapagos, which destroyed the habitat of the native tortoises. The Pinta tortoise was thought to be extinct in the early part of the 20th century. Then, in 1971, a Hungarian scientist studying snails on Pinta saw a tortoise on the island. The scientist reported the observation, and in spring of 1972, Galapagos National Park rangers brought the tortoise back to the Tortoise Centre for its protection. The hope was that a female Pinta tortoise would eventually be found in one of the zoos around the world, or perhaps even on Pinta, and then the tortoise, later named Lonesome George, would have a breeding partner. Despite extensive searches and genetic analysis for any potential Pinta tortoises found in zoos, none have been located to this day. Many years later, Lonesome George was placed in an enclosure with a female tortoise on Wolf Volcano, on Isabella Island. The idea was that placing these animals together, the Pinta Island subspecies, through Lonesome George, would be able to pass along at least some of his genes to future generations. The Wolf Volcano tortoise subspecies was morphologically the most closely related species to that of the Pinta Island. The goal was to maintain George's sexual activity for the possibility that a Pinta female would be found in a zoo somewhere around the world, or at least that there would be some crossing to create an offspring as closely related to the Pinta tortoise as possible. Unfortunately, Lonesome George was unsuccessful with breeding with these females. On the 24th of June 2012, Lonesome George, quite possibly the rarest animal alive, died. Park officials said that the tortoise was found dead in his enclosure by his keeper of 40 years. While his exact age was not known, Lonesome George was estimated to be about 100, which made him a young adult, as the subspecies can live up to the age of 200. Before his death, he became a symbol of the Galapagos Islands, which attracted something close to 180,000 visitors a year. After the death of Lonesome George, the Pinta Island tortoises were thought to be extinct, but now a study by Yale University researchers reveals that the DNA from George's ancestors may live on. Now in an area known as Volcano Wolf, on a secluded northern tip of Isabella, another of the Galapagos Islands, the researchers have identified 17 hybrid descendants of the Pinta Island tortoise within a population of 1,666 tortoises. Genetic testing identifies 3 males, 9 females and 5 juveniles under the age of 20, with DNA from the Pinta Island tortoise. The presence of juveniles suggests that purebred specimens may exist on the island too. The researchers said, even the parents of some of the older individuals may still be alive today, given that tortoises live for so long and that we detected high levels of ancestry in a few of these hybrids. It is thought that these hybrids ended up 30 miles away from the Pinta Islands due to humans transporting the Pinta Island tortoises for food, as a tortoise can survive for 12 months without food and water due to its slow metabolism, which made them ideal for carrying on long ship voyages. Giant tortoises are essential to the Galapagos Island ecosystem. They scatter soil and seeds, and their eating habitats help maintain the population balance of woody vegetation and cacti. Now scientists have another chance to save the Pinta Island tortoise. If all goes well, the Pinta Island tortoise may someday be restored to their wild homes in the Galapagos.